told your friend you're not okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to K-pop News, a place where every little moment in the K-pop world can turn into history. And today, we're going to talk about one such event that not only stole the show, but also truly shook the hearts of armies around the world. In what felt like an unstoppable wave of happiness, BTS returned to the public in a completely unexpected way. After releasing their fifth album, ARIRANG, on March 20th and rocking Seoul with a massive free concert at Gwanghwamun Square the following day, the legends appeared once again. This time at a Spotify party that turned into an emotional orgy. What many initially thought would be a run-of-the-mill session turned out to be one of the most iconic interactions since their comeback. Not because of the concept, not because of the decor, but because the seven men were now complete again after going through a difficult chapter in their lives. Even before they uttered a word, the atmosphere was already different. BTS didn't come with the stiff aura of global superstars. They came with this signature energy that's so sorely missed. Wild, spontaneous, full of laughter and fun. From the very beginning, their introduction session turned into a hilarious mess that left thousands of armies stung with nostalgia. J-Hope, with his trademark casualness, opened the event by introducing himself as Jimin, a single sentence that immediately sparked a wave of laughter and signaled that this party was definitely not going to be normal. Jin then followed with his unfailing comedic style, saying, "Ahead, Jin," in a tone that only Jin could muster. Everyone knew this was going to be a mess, but a beautiful mess. And then the most anticipated turn came. Kim Taehyung. As the camera panned to V, the previously boisterous atmosphere suddenly turned into a hopeful silence. Many fans had already written their requests in the comments section. "Taehyung, please say something." They had no idea, they couldn't even imagine, the powerful impact that one word would have on his lips. And when he finally uttered that simple word, "Hello," the internet stopped, armies collapsed, and the world seemed to lose its gravity for a second. There was no over-the-top fan service, no long speeches, no dramatic acting, just a soft, short, and incredibly simple greeting. Yet it felt like the answer to all the prayers offered for months. That's Taehyung's power. He never needs many words to shake the world. His expression was relaxed, his voice low and warm, his eyes serene, as if he didn't even realize he'd just broken the hearts of millions watching. In that relaxed Spotify atmosphere, Taehyung existed like a center of gravity, unobtrusive, but ultimately captivating. For many armies, that "hello" moment felt symbolic. A symbol that Taehyung was truly back. A voice long missed, now heard again in an atmosphere filled with laughter and joy. BTS was back to 7, and the world felt complete again. The Spotify event itself felt so special because it came amidst the euphoria of a comeback. ARIRANG, with its emotional and majestic feel, has already been hailed as one of the most valuable works of BTS's career. Add to that the monumental concert at Gwanghwamun Square that shook K-pop history. Armies never expected the next surprise to be this relaxed, laughter-filled session. But that's just how BTS is. They can captivate the world from a magnificent, shining stage, then a few days later appear like old friends joking around in their living room. No distance, no false image, just seven men with a bond that's only grown stronger after a long, tiring journey. When the spotlight returned to Taehyung during the show, many noted how relaxed and happy he looked. His smile was soft, his gaze was gentle, and whenever the other members joked, he always seemed to be holding back laughter in his signature cute way. And that alone was enough to make armies forget to breathe. Even when he was silent, Taehyung felt like a favorite scene in the movie of their lives. Fan reactions immediately erupted on social media platforms. Many said that the greeting, "hello," felt like a reward after a long wait. Others wrote that they never expected a single word could make them cry, laugh, and tremble all at the same time. Some have also said that Taehyung exudes a main character energy that's too strong to ignore, and it's hard to disagree. Because Taehyung is more than just a stunning visual or a mesmerizing baritone. He brings emotion. He brings warmth. He leaves a lasting impression, even when he only opens his mouth for a second. Spotify Party was a beautiful reminder of why BTS is loved. They're human. They're honest. They're not afraid to be absurd. They don't try to be perfect. And in that imperfection, they're most captivating. Taehyung is the softest face of that honesty. After going through tough chapters in their respective lives, seeing BTS back together felt like watching an old family finally reunite. And seeing Taehyung laugh, hearing his voice, feeling his natural energy, it all felt like closing a wound that hadn't been recognized for a long time. Meanwhile, Taehyung's hello moment wasn't the highlight. Instead, after the main Spotify Party session concluded, a warmer and more surprising event slowly unfolded. A moment that felt like an added treat for ARMYs who had been overwhelmed with emotion for 3 straight days since their comeback. Minutes after the event ended, BTS didn't immediately leave the venue. They remained in the studio for a short photo shoot and some additional recording. But behind the scenes, there was an interaction that left many staff members speechless. Not because it was as hilarious as the introduction session, but because the atmosphere felt so human. Jimin, who had just burst out laughing during the event, was seen patting Taehyung on the shoulder, saying that his voice sounded more mature after a period of experience. RM nodded along, adding that V's tone now had a warmth that was hard to describe. Even Jungkook, who was usually the most talkative when it came to complimenting Taehyung, simply smiled broadly and hugged his Hyung in a natural way, as if to say, "Hyung, you're finally back." Taehyung responded to all of this with a small smile and a slightly lowered gaze, like someone who feels truly accepted. There was something tender in his expression, as if he himself hadn't expected that his one simple word could generate such a wave of emotion. As if he was still coming to terms with the fact that he had truly returned to a position where millions of people were waiting for him to breathe, speak, or even just blink. And therein lies the magic. Because after years of being known as the calmest face amidst the storm of popularity, Taehyung still shows his purest side, never seeking the spotlight, but always being the spotlight. As the other members joked around, Taehyung glanced up at the studio's ceiling and took a deep breath. It was small, barely noticeable, but enough for some fans who caught the extended footage to notice that he looked relieved. Relieved to be back among the family he had only seen through brief visits while on duty. Relieved to finally be able to speak freely in front of fans without time constraints. Relieved that after a long journey, the voice that had been lost in the busy world was now heard again, alive, warm, and very real. And when Taehyung turned to the camera again for additional close-up footage, he uttered another short phrase that immediately trended globally. "It feels like home." ARMY immediately burst into tears again. The phrase felt like a continuation of hello, like an affirmation that this comeback wasn't just a series of promotional activities, but a true journey home. And of all the members, no one conveyed that feeling of home as sincerely as Taehyung. After that, the photo session proceeded in a manner no less humorous than the introductions. Jin teased Taehyung by trying to imitate V's way of saying hello in a fake baritone voice that made all the members burst out laughing. Suga just shook his head, holding back a smile, while J-Hope hugged Taehyung from behind, saying that one word was enough to make the world go crazy for 24 hours. RM even jokingly said to the staff, "This is why Taehyung can't talk too much. One word is already dangerous." Taehyung immediately covered his face with his hands in embarrassment. But ARMY knew, of course, every moment of embarrassment only made him more deadly. And when all the activities were over, the 7 members finally ended the day by walking out of the studio laughing. But the fan camera that managed to capture their final interaction showed one scene that felt like the perfect ending. Taehyung looked back, raised his hand slightly, and said one more time, "See you soon." Not grand, not dramatic, not fake, but enough to confirm that this happiness was just the beginning. Spotify Party was just a small introduction. BTS just made their comeback. And Taehyung is just beginning a new chapter in their comeback journey.